This episode is sponsored by FrontrunnerNewJersey.com, your digital publication that covers South Jersey, and Fruition Life Media, preserving family legacies through video tributes, and Creative Content on Demand, your multimedia marketing company for all businesses. Hello, everybody. Welcome to BizTalk Unlocked. I'm James Ward.
And I'm April Ward.
And today we have our awesome friend with us, Mr. Curtis Myers. So thank you for being on the show with us today.
Hey, glad to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
It's always a great time to have a
Always.
great conversation with you.
Yes. You know, last time, Curtis, I think the last time we saw each other, we weren't looking like twins before. I recently cut my hair. So, now we're looking
you
like
joined the
twins.
club. You joined the club.
It's like full on now. Like he used to have the beard. Now it's like gone.
It's all gone. That's another story I'll tell you afterwards about. Oh, man, but thank you for being on the show. So I'm going to dive into your bio here so we can let the people know who we dealing with here. We're blessed today. So Curtis Myers is the founder and president of Aspire, which he started in 2003 to pursue his passion of equipping young people with the leadership skills. A graduate of the University of Pennsylvania, Wharton School of Business, he has worked for various organizations in the social work, education, and youth development field for the past 25 years. His first job was in food services at Six Flags Great Adventures amusement park, where he connected with a diverse people while surviving the summer heat. I can only imagine. As a college student, he served as a middle school mentor, counselor with the CORP and LEAD program in Philadelphia. These experiences developed his passion for working with young people, as well as his benefiting from great mentors throughout his life, including coaches, teachers, and peers. Curtis is committed to providing programs to transform lives and communities throughout our region and nations. And can I add that this brother right here has been a great mentor to me and someone who I've always trusted to talk with and get, not sugar-coated information or feedback about whatever I'm, was asking about. He just gave it to me straight. He gave it to me in love. And I respect it because, I mean, I know why. I get why he's in the business he's in, because he's passionate about, he loves people. I appreciate you for all that.
Oh yeah, and I had an opportunity to work alongside with him in an organization, and it was awesome to witness the way he leads and the way he communicates with everyone.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so we both were touched.
Yes. True.
All right, well, I'm finished. Thank y'all.
I know we just said it all, right? But I just want everybody to know, how special you are to us, but most importantly, how special you are to many other people that you've been such a blessing to, and to move forward to start, the business that you are. I mean, the business that you do is helping people, but we're going to get into that, so I just wanted to just, share that.
Well, I wanted to, dive in to the questions.
Sure.
Because there's a lot in here and a lot that we want to share with our audience. So the first question is, can you walk us through the inspiration or aha moment that led you to start your business?
Yeah, so it was in 1997, I believe it was. I went to this training in Denver, Colorado. It was a train the trainer on leadership. And I was around some great leadership trainers, thought leaders, and I learned this curriculum and content and brought it back to Jersey. I was one of the first master trainers of the Points of Light Institute training. And it just really birthed a passion in me to like, how do we teach young people the leadership skills that they need for the future? Teach it to them now, and give them the same type of quality training that executives of Fortune 500 companies get. And so it just inspired me, and I began to work to implement that training program actually in my current job. And then when I switched jobs, I actually birthed Aspire to provide that training as a consultant. So that was kind of the aha moment for me when I really looked at my passion for working with young people and the fact that I had a business education, but I loved working with young people. And I wanted to have a business that was really about how do you help empower, equip, and prepare young people for the future. And I wasn't sure how to do it, but I just knew that's what I wanted to do, and then I just started the journey and journeyed on.
Wow.
Yeah, I love how you took your passion and, turned it into a business where, you're able to continue to do what you're doing, right? By helping people, but also provide for your family. And,
Hmm.
so that's great how, you know, I'm just saying that for people who out there, if there's passions and hobbies or something that inspires you, you should look into those things because that could be the opportunity that can put you into entrepreneurship. So, but yeah, so I'm gonna dive into the next question unless you had anything else you want to
No.
say. So our next question for you, sir, is what were some of the biggest challenges you focused during the initial stage of setting up your business?
So the one thing I'll encourage everybody, you talked about it when we're talking about your passions and your hobbies or interests, right? When you have a passion that you want to pursue, you got to give it time to have the proof of concept. And so I think what happens a lot of times with entrepreneurs is they may jump out too soon, and therefore they don't have proof of concept because they're trying to grow a business and eat at the same time. I was fortunate enough to build my business part time as a consultant. I learned a lot. I did a lot of different types of trainings, built a lot of relationships, and I had the safety net of a job. And that did not make me, that allowed me to invest in the business without having to take out of the business, right? And so I think when I finally went full time, which was 2014, it was unexpected and unplanned, but I was actually better prepared for it because I had been working on it for about 10 years in different capacities. And so I jumped into it and just had to navigate through it. So I didn't have to deal with a lot of the raising capital challenges that some people do because the way my business was structured, I didn't need a lot of capital because I had built up the inventory of materials and things that I needed. But I think the biggest thing, the biggest challenge I had was I actually was by myself, and I just remember putting together RFPs for the business for contracts I wanted. And a few months before that, I had a team of 4 people helping me put together RFPs, and that was just me. I had to do the financials, I had to do the writing, I had to do the marketing projections, I had to do all of that stuff. And the good part of it was, I was by myself, but I wasn't alone, right? I had God with me, and that really gave me some encouragement and strength and guidance. And then I did have some mentors, people I could bounce ideas off of as well. So it was difficult to feel like, man, I gotta, you know, there is no marketing department or finance department. I was the chief cook and bottle washer. So sometimes I laugh when people say, yo, you're the president of Spire. I say, yeah, I'm also the president and the janitor, right? So like you do what you got to do to move forward. But when you have a passion for something and you really believe and you have ideas of how to do it, it just keeps driving you. I think one of the great quotes one of my a previous boss said to me, he says, "My dreams are bigger than my fears, therefore I act." And that really resonated with me because when what you see what you want, it will push you past your fears. You're going to have fears, you're going to have doubts. I've had plenty, I have plenty, but I still keep going forward because of what I do believe and what I see.
That's awesome that you shared that because a lot of people think, when I arrive that, hey, I'm a president or CEO, but they don't realize, a lot of small business, mid-sized businesses, and even some large businesses, I think the most successful ones that pushes on when that person, can be the janitor too.
Mm-hmm.
Get you're a person that get things done that needs to get done,
Gotta get done.
Although, it's always great when you have help.
Right, right.
Yes.
And so our next question is, how did you decide on your target market or customer base, and what steps did you take to reach them?
Yeah, so for me, I look at my customers as two different types of customers, right? There is the actual customers that we serve. But to serve the customers that we serve, we have to have funding partners and referral sources. So for me, what that looks like is it starts with building relationship with government entities, organizations, nonprofits that will help fund the work that we do. We're not a nonprofit, but we work in youth development space, and we're able to get government contracts, bid on RFPs, and things of that nature. So that's the funding side partnership. That helps. And looking now to work more with companies that say, hey, we have a workforce challenge and we need better equipped younger talent, and we want to work with Aspire, and we've got budget for it. So it's working and identifying who those people are. The second customer base is the actual young people that we serve. So oftentimes we'll work with school districts and we'll provide trainings and things of that nature in schools. But then we've got a lot of programming that is for out of school young people. And so what that looks like for us is everything from identifying key referral sources. So if we have to work with pregnant and parenting young adults to get them into the workforce, we need to talk to daycare centers and health clinics and those kinds of places, places that are connected to that audience. We've got a contract to work with young people who've been court involved. So we network with probation officers to identify the people. So really trying to figure out who knows the audience we're trying to talk to and making sure we talk to them. We're top of mind when it comes to issues around workforce development for their young people and services that we can provide and help kind of quarterback for their young people. And then directly reaching the young people, we're working with social media and doing things to drive their interest. And then with our existing young people, we're asking them, hey, do you have a friend? We're pushing for referrals. Do you have a friend that you think would benefit from this as well? So it's constantly evaluating how do you reach the people you need to reach and thinking about different ways and strategies, whether it's going to community events and fairs, health fairs, job fairs, and having tables and meeting younger people that are saying, hey, I'm having a hard time kind of getting kick-started in my career. I need some assistance, and we're able to position ourselves to help.
Sound like y'all making a huge impact in the community.
We try, man. We try day by day.
Hey, amen. All right. So, was there any defining moment when you knew your business was going to succeed, or was it more of a gradual realization?
Yeah, so because I started small, um, I always felt like it wouldn't fail because I didn't have a big picture of it. But when I went full time, that's when, sometimes you got to do it scared, right? And I was doing it scared. And I think for me, one of the pivotal moments is when I landed this one sizable contract that let me know, like, hey, you can compete with the big dogs. And it was very interesting. I actually got a contract that I had received when I was at a previous employer. Um, but I had that entity behind me. And now it was just me and Aspire. Aspire was me at the time. And to be able to compete against, it felt like a David versus Goliath type of moment. And David won. And I was like, oh my God, that's what it really hit me. Like, I think we're going to be all right. And that's when I was able to hire my first staff persons. And so now we have a team of 8.5 people, 8 full time and a part time
Wow.
person as well. So it's been steady over time, but I think that was like the pivotal moment once you had that first big win.
Hmm.
It helps, and I think that's one of the things that entrepreneurs struggle with, right? Like you got to keep hitting a bunch of singles, and then you'll hit the big home run, and then you'll have the momentum, and you'll believe, and then you'll learn more at the next level with other opportunities and other players. So that was my first big countywide grant or contract, and then I was right before um, the pandemic in 2020. We got our first state contract. And that was like, oh my God. I remember a quick story. We walked into a room with this bidders conference, and there's like over 200 companies in there. And they had to offer another bidders conference because there was so many people. And I was like, man, what are we doing here? Like, we were only like a company of 3 or 4 then. And I was like, man, I don't. I said, well, you know what? We here. We may as well put in, and we put the work in. And I just remember when we got the award notice. It was like at the beginning of the pandemic, and I was like,
Wow.
"Oh my God, we got it! Like we got a state
Wow.
contract. Like that was huge for us." And like I said, I kept going back to where we started, and I would encourage entrepreneurs that sometimes the the unplanned start leads to like a beautiful journey.
This next question is about initial funding, but this will be
Mhm.
also something that you can give advice to. So, how did you secure initial funding or resources to get started? And what advice would you give others looking to raise capital for their ventures?
Yeah, so like I said, my situation is a service-based business. I didn't have a lot of capital to purchase other than laptop, cell phone, that kind of stuff. So I didn't have a lot of that. But what amazed me was how quickly, once I got a open a business checking account with my bank was like, hey, and it was ironic. I think it's because I did have a little bit of a track record as part time, but not any great giant earnings. But they gave me a line of credit right away, and I was like, oh wow. And I barely ever had to use it, but I kind of self financed the business, to be honest, or to be candid. But I think if I was somebody who was starting again and I had to start and build a business and I knew I needed, $50,000. And I've actually helped people do this. I remember a good friend was trying to purchase a franchise, and he was overwhelmed by the size of it. And I said, why don't you break it down into smaller amounts? Like, why don't you look for like $5,000, $10,000 investors? I said, I would be one. And he was like, you would? I said, yeah, man. On the strength of who you are, I know you're good for it, and just put something together. And so sometimes, you know, if you break it down and see if you could find friends and family, but you got to make sure you have a real plan and a real strategy for how you will return it, because you don't want to strain relationships. But I vividly remember that brother, and I said, "Yeah, I would help you," and he was like, "What?" I said, first of all, I don't think he thought I had $10,000 to invest. I was like, "You don't ever speak for other
Ah,
people's pockets. You don't know what people have." And
right, right.
you got to
Yeah,
also remember how people see you. Like, I just wouldn't give
right.
$10,000 to anybody, but I was like,
Yeah.
I know this brother. This brother has a crazy work ethic. He will get up at before the sun goes down, and he will stay after, but he's going to finish it. So I just
Yeah.
believed in him. I believed in him more than I believed in the franchise. And so I was like, hey,
Gotcha.
I'll,
Got
I'll
it.
support you. And I think more people have that in their life, and they don't
Mhm.
realize it.
Wow.
Wow.
And you just got to ask,
You just gotta
or
ask.
you're just ask, and then like the one big thing that you said is receive.
Hmm.
Like, be willing to receive the help.
Hmm.
I think I
Absolutely.
think I think I think you're on to something. So everybody, if you need funding, go to Curtis. I'll
I'll be
put
a
my
micro bank.
application in tomorrow. No, I'm just playing. No, that's awesome though. That was awesome. Thanks for sharing that, because
Hmm.
that's just another way of people really getting a grasp of, how do they, if it requires certain funding, what could they do? What resources they have. So thanks for sharing that. The next question, we talked about this, so we can talk lightly about this because you had mentioned this earlier. More so, I guess we can probably talk about mentorship. But what roles did networking and mentorships play in your business early developments? Did you have any key mentors or role models?
Yeah, I think my business was built from mentorship, quite honestly. The passion I had of serving with young people. I often tell the story of Haskins, Mr. Haskins, who was very influential to me in college, after college. And I was able to pick his brain and just glean stuff from him. And then as I actually formed Aspire, I talked to other entrepreneurs. Like, I think one of the hardest things whenever you lead anything is to stay being a follower. Like, be willing to be vulnerable and know that others can give you insights and stuff. So I talk to people who are further down the road than I am, and I love to listen to that. I actually am part of a business. I would call it, I guess, like a business coaching group, and it's great to sit around a table with other entrepreneurs who have much larger businesses, different types of businesses, and see how they handle things with personnel, with growth, with marketing, with um, you know legal issues. And so I just think it's always good to position yourself as a learner. And so I don't ever feel like I need to be the smartest guy in the room. I don't feel like I need to be the star in the room. I want to be around other people who just can help me be better. So I think that's an important part. And so that's the mentorship side, and then networking. I'm working on getting better than that. I go to networking events, and I try to, my strategy is, let me meet one or two new people and not try to be a hummingbird and be all over the room, right? I just want, let me see if I can make one or two good contacts and then go from there and kind of build from there. But I think that's important. You want people to know you, and then you want to build your network. You want to take full opportunities of your network's network. So people you know. So, like, how do I share with people that I know? Hey, could you help me find? And it's amazing. More people will do things for you if you just ask.
So
Yeah.
since launching, how has your business evolved in terms of products or services
Yeah.
and target audience. So, there's growth.
So it's
So where are
so
you
it's
at?
interesting. It's interesting because when James was reading the bio, when I remember when I first started, I thought I was going to just do leadership trainings, right? I was
Mhm.
going to have trainings for sports captains, all these different things, and I've done a bunch of those things. And then in like 2014, when I started going full time, I realized that there were opportunities that were around workforce development. And so I didn't. I kind of redefined what leadership meant. It was more about preparing you for the workforce. So I could do a leadership training with school with peer mentors, contracts, that kind of stuff. But workforce development was the big issue. And so how do you get young people ready for the world of work? So that was kind of like a pivot, and that has really helped us grow, right? It's really helped us grow. And now the recent pivot with the emphasis on apprenticeships and non-degree programs, and just being in spaces where you're hearing that being talked about and you're learning more about it. And now we're looking at it and say, hey, well, we can we can be very resourceful in pre-apprenticeship training. We can help prepare people for apprenticeships, and we can connect with the folks that work in the more construction and the more apprenticeshable industries, because we have good relationships in schools. We know how to talk to young people. We know how to speak to their parents. We need to help move the dialogue from um, the only way to success is 4 year college and career pathway, and start focusing more on career pathway. And so if we focus on career pathway, you'll realize that you can have a successful career without a degree. A degree is not required, but skills are required.
So, the next question we have for you: what are the most important strategies you've implemented to scale your business, and how do you keep things innovative?
Yeah, I think for me, it's going to conferences and learning from others, and then doing like site visits. So like I might go to a conference, and I remember I went to this one conference, and the presenters were from Baltimore, and what they were presenting was awesome, but it wasn't enough in 90 minutes. So I just, instead of just saying, let me get your materials and your PowerPoint, I said, hey, can I come down and visit you guys for like a couple of hours and just see stuff in action? They were like, sure. And so I just drove down to More, and I just kind of hung out, and I was like a fly on the wall, and I was asking questions, and I was observing. And so for me, that was a way to really learn, because there's a lot of great things. You can get great ideas in conferences and in webinars and things of that nature. But sometimes you got to go lift the hood up off the car and really see under the engine and get some strategies that you can uh, really, I would say principles that you can adopt to your own practices. And so I always want to learn the principles and say, okay, we can't, that's Baltimore, that's how you do it in Baltimore, but the principles are universal. So here's how we would do this in South Jersey.
And as a business owner, what do you
hmm
find most fulfilling about running your company? And are there aspects you enjoy more than others?
Yeah, so I love the freedom and the autonomy to think and to do and pursue things. That feeds my soul. I think one of the great things that happened for me, and as you guys know, your family people too, is um, when I ended up going full time. It was a perfect time because my kids were getting older, and they were playing some sports and things that I could not always attend because of my job. But as a business owner, I could move stuff around. I was still working the same number of hours, but if I wanted to take off 2 or 3 hours in the middle of the day or at 3 o'clock to go somewhere or do whatever I had to do to be there for my family, I could do that, and I could continue to work in the evening, so nobody was watching my clock.
Let's talk about the future here. Looking
Yeah.
ahead, where do you see your business in the next 5 to 10 years? Are there any specific goals or milestones you're working toward?
It's a great question because I'm actually working on a strategic plan as we speak.
Oh, wow.
Um, so it's so hard sometimes when you're busy. Like you just try to get through this week, this next month, this next cycle. But I do see us expanding the scope of the work that we do to work more with companies. So what I see is we're going to be working from two levels. So we'll be continuing in the youth space, 16 to 24 year olds, that kind of stuff, working with schools, nonprofits, organizations, and networks to help get those people ready for the workforce. But I really want to then also be a great resource for companies, where companies say, you guys are the Gen Alpha whispers or the Gen X whispers or the, so we want you to come in and train our new staff, because what happens is young people come out of college and or come out of high school and they enter the world of work, and the world of work is just different than the world of academics, right? It's okay for you to wear I don't know if it's okay or not, but it's okay for you to wear yoga pants and pajamas to your sociology class. It ain't okay in the job, right? The way you talk, the way you text, the way you communicate, the expectations that you have, right? Like you can talk back to your parents, maybe you can have a certain, and it's not like you can't talk back to your managers or certain things, but there's a certain level of understanding how to navigate the culture of work.
Congratulations, because we did see on social media that you received the 2025 Social Action Award from the good
Oh,
men of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity, Inc., Kappa Epsilon Sigma chapter. Can you share a little bit about that award and
yeah, so I'm very humbled by that. One of the brothers from the Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, I know him, and he knows me, so he's known about the community volunteer stuff and other type of work that I've done, and it was a a recognition of just being involved in the community. So it's everything from serving with a few good men. Our church does a lot of good community stuff around mentoring with Holbein Middle School and Students of the Month, and just being active in the community. But I was really humbled. I was surprised, but I was grateful because obviously you don't do things for recognition. You do it because it's the right thing to do. This is my community. I live here. I want to make sure that my community is well. But it was humbling and also just an honor just to be recognized for a lot of the stuff that you do behind the scenes that people don't even know. But
right?
then, and it was funny for me because it was like it was hard to say like, well, tell us what you do. And I started listing the different things. I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. Like, oh yeah, I serve on the volunteer center board. I'm part of the youth council for workforce development here. I'm on the municipal alliance for substance abuse prevention. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, you are involved in the community on multiple levels, plus the work that we do at Aspire and different things. So it was humbling, but I was definitely honored to receive it.
Wow, wow.
Congratulations.
Well, we
Thank you.
appreciate you taking the time, and I know you got a lot to do there, and helping young men and women get positioned and ready for life. So we appreciate you taking this time, talking with us, and sharing your journey about how you started your business. And before we go,
We want to actually know how we can contact you, Curtis. Can you
Sure.
share a little bit of how they can
Sure.
find you?
mhm,
So the easiest way, you can go to our website, aspireyouth.com, ASPIREYOUTH, aspireyouth.com. You can always email at info@aspireyouth.com, and our phone numbers are 609-518-3500. So looking forward to connecting with folks who either say, hey, I've got a company and I want to help bring in some young talent, some young workers. I'm looking for maybe some interns. Um, there's a lot of ways we can work with companies, or if you know some young people who are 16 and 24, who just need some help, navigating their careers, especially if they live in the Burlington and Camden County area. We'd love to be of a great resource. And I just want to also say thanks to my good friends, James and April Ward. I love them. I'm so proud of the work they are doing together with their family, and just excited about their business. And I've known them for a number of years and really just believe in the quality of what they do. So, congratulations and onward and upward, my friends.
thank
Oh,
you, thank you,
thank you
thank
so
you, thank you. We
much.
appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you, sir. Seriously, we take value in everything that you share with us and say to us. So thank you so much.
Blessings.
Well, thank you for being on the show. Look, I dropped all my papers. I guess that's a wrap, right? But thank you for being on the show and sharing your journey. I know this is going to inspire people to
Yes.
aspire to become the entrepreneur or the business person that God has put in their heart to be. So thank you so much.
So, awesome. Thank you, guys.